Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself.
Hi.
404. Doctor's not in. There's a
Error.
Doctor error. Doctor. Really? That it was that much effort to open up a can?
It's been weeks. I have eaten so little.
How much have you lost now? 30 pounds still?
I'm down 32 pounds. I'm down to 263
Wow.
from 295,
Wow.
which was the last week of September.
Insane. Unhealthily insane.
And I've gotten to the point now where occasionally I might have a small lunch and then a smaller, even smaller dinner. So I'm like, I can vary stuff up, and I'm still making progress.
I was 220 a few days ago,
Okay.
and now I'm 217.
Hey, there you go.
So,
Well,
kind of doing the same thing.
I mean, yes.
I only ate dinner.
Did you actually do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you need to at that point. Let me just remind you, I was almost 300 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a good thing the studio's on the ground floor.
A thing you've actually been concerned about in your comic room.
I'm fine.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's good even.
Yeah.
If you can tell by how cool I am.
That's the way you're perceived.
I forget where I am.
Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Hell yeah, there we are. Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the final episode of October.
Oh.
Happy
Halloween. We're talking about evil computers.
That's right. That's the cool 404 joke.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, spooky.
I mean, they're evil. What the fuck do you want from me, man?
I did like how easy it is to pull a thread on you. I think I just wrote that on the Discord and you were like, yeah. And I'm like, it takes so little.
I don't like how easily, how easy I am to like set up.
Oh, it's the one thing that your family and I all love about you.
The one thing?
Yeah.
Oh. Huh.
Well, at least we all agree upon it.
Yeah.
It's a ton of fun.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I sort of am known that way.
Oh, yeah. Isn't your nickname at your office?
That I'm a hothead.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said this. I was in a meeting. We were talking about stuff we were doing, and a lot of my job is like comms and
Yeah.
prepping messaging and stuff. And at one point in the meeting, I was like, and if it doesn't go the right way, I'll prep the nuclear option. And I was like kind of joking, but you could tell everyone in the room was like, I don't think we're going to need that. Like,
You're like, no, they'll all pay.
yeah, no, and I don't mean verbally. I mean a nuclear option.
Yeah. They'll all burn.
I have several tons of degraded uranium.
That I'm either going to travel back in time or kill everyone.
I mean, if I travel back in time poorly, I might do both.
Speaking of Pearl Harbor.
No, not a joke from another podcast. Likely a convenient bleep from another podcast. Also coming out next week.
Yeah.
We've recorded too much stuff today. I do want to just throw out there, though, you're about to go on your trip to Japan.
Speaking of.
I mean...
yeah.
You excited?
Yeah, I'm nervous because I've never traveled across an ocean. And I'm nervous because I've never been anywhere.
You've never gone to Europe?
Nope.
Oh, shit.
I've never left North America.
For some reason, I figured you had been to,
Mm-mm.
like, Ireland or something.
Nope.
Oh, shit.
I've also, never been anywhere I didn't speak the language.
Right.
Like, including, like, French.
Sure, right.
Like
yeah.
I've literally like travel wise, geography wise.
Just remember to say arigato.
Yes.
Or arigato gozaimasu.
Yes.
Gomen nasai is sorry. I'm pretty sure. Or very sorry.
Hi.
Hi is yes.
Yeah.
Konnichiwa.
Yep.
Hello. Sayonara.
Yep.
Goodbye. Doko e ikamasuka is where are you going? You can
Hey.
yell that at people.
Yep. Oh, there was a thing I read. I have a list somewhere that's like basically like I'll have whatever you recommend.
I'll have what she's having.
Yeah, I mean,
My God, please learn how to say I'll have what she's having in Japanese. Please.
It's the only thing I learned.
Please, for me.
Just like wailing for it to come
I'll
up.
have what she's having in Japanese would be.
Just like pointing to any woman in the place.
They'll bring you something you're not ready for.
Well, or what comes out is I'll have her.
Well, I'd be concerned about misspeaking. Yeah.
Yes. But yes, I'm excited.
It's gonna be cool though.
It's gonna be insane. I think everything I've like saw on like little docs I've watched and things like that. Everything's like, oh, it's like a life-changing experience.
Yeah,
more than like other places people travel. Like I'm basically going from 0 to 10. Unlike me.
I mean, this is a very you trip. You're spending like 5 days in Japan. You're like, I'm going to go to the countryside. I'm going to go to the city. I'm going to go to a conference. I'm going to go meet a world leader. I'm going to go to like,
Yep.
It's like, and then I'm going to be back.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, that's exactly how I'm going to do it.
I mean, it's a very Richard trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
A very Richard trip.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm there's going to be so much that I'm going to do and experience, and like my sort of like I've been making some rules for myself, which is like like if it's a food thing that I'm offered, eat it. Like that's
yeah.
Like I'm not usually like a soup fan, but like I'm going to like the place where soup is good.
So much broth.
So I'm going to like be open-minded, I think, as
yeah.
much as I can. That's sort of the idea.
I think on the flip side, though, you just got to know what your limit is and be okay with it too. You know, like I don't know what all of the different delicacies of things are, but at a certain point, you might just hit a texture or something. You're like, no, thank you.
My limit
know,
right now, and it's probably closed-minded from a world standpoint, is bugs. Like I can't do bugs,
Oh, see, bugs don't bother me.
and I can't do anything that looks like the thing.
Right.
So any meat that looks like either where it came from or
Oh, I see.
the animal, I can't eat it.
I mean, does that apply to like a deshelled lobster claw? You know, like when they pull the meat out and it's still the shape of the.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, but like more like brain or
Sure.
balls or
Right. I understand.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can't really eat, or like it's still the animal mostly.
Right. Like not you wouldn't get this in Japan, but like a stuffed sheep's head.
Yeah,
Something like those types of
yeah,
things.
yeah, like that stuff I can't really do. For me, and at the end of the day, my palate all comes from texture. If I have a problem with something, it's because of texture.
That's usually my issue. Very rarely do I just not like the flavor.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it's a thing that people like, typically I'm good with it, but the texture is always a really tricky thing.
I think that's fair. But man, what a cool like opportunity to try some stuff.
Oh, exactly.
And have better versions of stuff you already know you like too.
Well, exactly.
You know?
Like I've had Superstore sushi. I can't imagine what it'll be like.
Yeah, we had con sushi.
Yeah, conference Vancouver.
So I'm
conference
pretty
sushi.
sure we know the culture.
Yeah.
Let
me show you how to use chopsticks.
Yeah. We saw a bunch of people dressed as Cloud, and we had con sushi.
I kind of already been to Japan.
So, you know.
Let me teach you a few things. I'm nervous about some of the like business culture stuff because there's a lot of rules and things like that.
Have you figured out how you're going to cover your tattoos?
Yeah, I'm going to go get a Band-Aid basically because I think for the most part, I'm not going to do any of the like spas or anything. So
right.
I don't really have to worry about like large amounts of tattoos unless I'm like not in a business thing, and then it doesn't really matter. So like,
oh, does it not?
Well, not really. I mean, people.
It's not even just like a general cultural thing. Like,
it's
maybe don't like flash those around, kind of thing. Or?
It's a little bit that.
Okay.
I'm
truly asking.
No. And I've done a lot of research, and the most that I can see is that like, look, I mean, it's a fairly modern culture, but imagine like a thing that here that is taboo. May have at one point tied back to a thing, but it's just generally still taboo.
Yeah,
and so it's like yes, it typically is because of Yakuza, but also because of
yeah.
that, it's just in general not like loved.
Yeah, it's not like they're going to look at a Triforce thing
Yes.
and think you're in the Yakuza.
Yes.
They're going to look at it and be like, what sort of person makes that choice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so for the most part, they'll just keep you from, there's very few businesses that will keep you out, but there are businesses that will.
Sure.
I'm debating when I go to Kamakura if I'm going to do it or not, because that's like where all like the shrines and stuff are. And so I'm still trying to figure out like what the vibe is, because it's still a very touristy area, but it also is like a religious area. So
I mean, it probably can't hurt to err on the side of caution.
yeah. I think I'll most likely, I was looking at the weather and it's going to be like 20 degrees.
Right.
So I might be able to get away with pants. I'm mostly just because I don't like being hot. Like I don't like being uncomfortable. So I'm gotta play that by ear. But for the most part, I'm just trying to basically like absorb as much and do as much, and like there's like a list of big things that I want to do,
Right.
and then sort of a descending list beyond that. So it's like,
Sure.
and then I've just like also pre-scheduled some like meetings with people, and like there are some things going on that I
Because
can,
this is technically a work trip.
yeah, sure,
Well, no, yeah, that's why I said technically.
yeah,
Don't worry, we're on the same page. If anything, I was kind of trying to remind you.
oh yeah, fair. Yeah, it's mostly like the 31st and the 1st
Yes.
are like the most business days.
Yeah, you got a couple of days of sort of freewheeling.
But that basically, like, I arrive on the 27th, and I have the 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th.
Are you going to hit like proper karaoke?
I probably won't, just unless I like make friends with. I mean, I do have this like dream of like making friends with a group of like Japanese businessmen and like
Yeah.
having a party night.
Yeah. Find a drift race. I mean, that's my dream for you.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, I also said that, yeah, you should only play that song by the Teriyaki Boys.
Every time I get into like an Uber or something,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it just like slowly
you go.
slowly turn it up and see if he does it.
Yeah. Where are you going, sir? Drift Mountain. No. Fucking tourists.
Fucking goddamn foreigners, get out of my car.
Goddamn Fast and Furious tourists.
I get out of the car. He suddenly puts on turbo and drives
Yeah.
away.
I mean, that would be cool.
That would be really, really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Lights come out from underneath and stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be so fucking rad. Yeah, I
Vin Diesel pulls up. Who said American muscle can't drift? You hop in with him. You chase down the Uber and run him off the road.
fuck yeah.
It writes itself.
I mean, truly. And if anybody's gonna have that weird experience, it's gonna be me.
It would be you.
Yeah.
I am jealous. You're probably going to see some sumo.
Yep.
I'm
yeah.
jealous.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna go outside the stables and look through the windows and be like, my friend knows who you are.
Well, you told me what the Bea was, and
Yes.
then I texted my dad, and he right away was like, "That's the Waka's Bea." And I was like, I know, man.
That's Waka's music.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. So if you manage to snag a photo, if it's like appropriate or whatever, send it to my dad.
Oh, we'll send it to your dad first.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. But like, there's a big guy. Is that a Waka? I'm like, every large Japanese man. Is that a Waka?
The Wakas aren't that big.
Oh.
They're strong though.
Oh, is this the brothers?
There's two,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
brothers.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
Wakataka Kage and Wakamoto Haru.
Waka Yaka Yaga.
Some fucking respect.
Waka Waka.
Yeah. And then there's Waka Waka Fuzzy.
Anyways, why don't we get into today's episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
You'll hear about Japan next week. Or the
Yeah.
week after that, because I won't be here next week.
Yes, that's right.
Somebody else will be here. Probably.
Hey, it's that time of year.
Richard starts Speaking of drifting away. Just wait for Docmus, where how will Doctor convince Richard to stay this year?
I'm pretty sure I got you locked in.
Oh, what does that mean?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Daddy.
Easy.
What are you going to do for me?
Go to your evil computer and let's talk evil computers.
Hey.
A spooky theme. That's good to talk.
Yeah, it's spooky, man. You just chose a spooky theme this week.
Kaylash baby.
Wait, what?
Do you not remember that's how we like ended the episode last week?
I do, but I'm surprised you're bringing it back.
I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Oh, okay, cool.
Feels like you're stalling for time. I just thought I would fill.
Yeah,
because
that's what I need right now is to take more time in this episode.
I don't know. You're the one stalling.
Let's start on Facebook.
Go to the face in the book. Go to the Facebook.
First question comes from Braden Ketty, who asks, what are the origins of the Grid? Was he always there in Cyborg's programming, or did he get hacked?
So, in the New 52, there's that event called Forever Evil. That's where the crime syndicate from Earth 3 invades. So that's all of the evil doppelgangers of the Justice League. Ultraman, Power Ring, Deathstorm, Superwoman, Owlman, all that kind of stuff. They come and they take over, and them with the villains of Earth, they try to rule the Earth. And of course, they ultimately lose. The Justice League beats them.
Of course.
Well, the Injustice League really beats them. But part of that team, one member of that team, doesn't come from Earth 3, and that's Grid, the evil version of Cyborg.
Oh.
Who's a full machine, no
Human. Hey, whoa, bro, no human.
That is a shockingly nuanced joke.
Thanks.
I don't want to say it's out of character for you, but I'm surprised.
That's what I'm here for.
Very good.
Thank you.
But yeah, the Grid doesn't come from Earth 3. The Grid ends up like joining up with the crime syndicate, but the Grid comes from Prime Earth. So in the New 52, there's a retcon to Cyborg's origin where the machine parts he's fused with are actually like apocalyptic tech. It's a mother box. Now that's kind of basically the version of that is what we also get in the movie and stuff like that.
Sure,
too.
yeah.
But that was new. It used to just be like just tech, like at Star Labs, and they just put them together. But this made him a little bit more alien kind of stuff. And a big part of his like arc through the Justice League book is trying to deal with being constantly connected, and this like computer could just constantly process things. And at a certain point, Batman tries to help him by tries to help him tune out most of the chatter of technology.
Okay.
But says there's keywords you should look out for, things that would indicate, disasters,
Bossy
or
brunette,
crimes, or yeah, is there
cute
like
outfit?
Is there like a sort of brunette anti-hero in leather somewhere? Things I should keep tabs on.
Yeah, stepped on her.
No, I'm thinking about Batman.
Oh, I was just thinking.
Oh,
about
yes,
keywords.
Yeah. Librarian.
Alexis, Texas.
I mean, that's pretty funny. Cyborg, run a search for me. It's like, Bruce, you have your own computer. It's better when you do it. I don't like this, Bruce.
I don't want this on my computer.
I'm a man.
Is Mia Khalifa still making vids? Look it up.
Cyborg just doesn't give him the answer.
Yeah.
Like he just...
Hey, Cyborg.
I'm sitting right next to you, Bruce.
Hey, Cyborg. Do the thing. Hey, Cyborg. What's the weather?
It's 26 degrees in Gotham.
Thank you.
Nice. Cyborg, turn the thermostat down to 71. At any rate, Batman is trying to help him out. And they come up with a sort of like an algorithm and a set of softwares that sort of run scans in the background in sort of Cyborg's like unconscious mind. Because part of what he's trying to do is not consciously be aware of everyone's private information all the time. And so he has a sort of set of like algorithms and softwares that are doing that in the background that then might flag a thing that might be a crime. That set of softwares he eventually refers to as the Grid. During this time, there is a member of the team. Her name is Rhonda Pineda. She's the Atom. But she's got a secret. She's actually a spy on the Justice League. From the Justice League of America, Waller's version of the team kind of set to take them down. But guess what? she's got a secret. She's actually from Earth 3.
Jesus Christ.
So she's betrayed everybody. And she, using her atom powers, goes down and somehow, in a way that comic books explain, bestows sentience to the grid inside of Cyborg. And when the crime syndicate crosses over to Prime Earth, the grid says, now's my time. I don't need this flesh anymore. And like all the machine parts rip off of Cyborg
Oh my God.
and form their own body and join the crime syndicate. It's like, I mean, it's very like edgy, but it's like also like pretty fucking cool. Like,
So what is left of Cyborg? Then?
almost nothing. And during Forever Evil,
He dies then, eh? Like,
no, a lot of what Batman is doing is like trying to get to Star Labs to save Cyborg.
Oh wow. Because like, what is he left with?
I mean, like bit of torso, stump of arm, part of chest, head,
Oh wow.
but not part of face. And that's
you
it.
can talk like a human.
No, that's good. That good.
Cool.
Eventually, Cyborg gets rebuilt in more the Star Labs fashion kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's still, he's still retconned to have a mother box and stuff now, but essentially that's a whole thing that happens during there. So the grid was just basically a name for a collection of programs inside Cyborg. But then when it was given sentience, its thing was, I don't need this flesh or whatever. I'm my own thing. And then it had this weird motivation where without flesh, it still wanted emotion. It's like,
Classic robot.
I want emotion. I want to feel, like it wanted that sort of thing.
Why was I taught to feel?
Why was I programmed to feel pain? So that's essentially the thing with the grid. So it wasn't always evil, but only in that it wasn't always sentient. Basically, from the moment it gained sentience, it turned evil.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Damn. Next question from Adam Upper.
I hardly know her.
Are there any sentient computers that are really incompetent and or real stupid?
Oh, man.
I do love this question.
It's a good question.
And if not, it's a missed opportunity.
Incompetent or real
I like giving
stupid?
like sentience to like a DOS. Like,
yeah. Yeah, because sentience doesn't necessarily like when it comes to computers, we always assume and they have access to everything.
yeah. But
If
it's like
you
if,
somehow gave sentience to like a pre-internet computer, it'd be like it only knows what it knows.
DOS, run, DOS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like a toddler. Like,
Free DOS, run, DOS, run.
Yeah, C/run.
Yeah.
That's actually very funny. You're good tonight.
I'm on 3 episodes
I
in,
don't know
baby.
if it's because of the lighting or it's super late or that I'm definitely staying the night, but you're good.
Oh my God, I like when he tells me.
Yeah, I'm weirdly confident right now.
Holy shit.
Let's see, a dumb computer or an incompetent computer.
Hey, I'm a computer. Quit your download.
It's not as comical an example as what the question's
Sure.
setting up. But, so, Computo.
Sounds dumb already.
So, Legion of Superheroes
So,
faced this thing called Computo.
theoretically, advanced computer.
It was a computer that Brainiac 5 had built to help. And as with many of Brainiac 5's experiments, they go horribly wrong. Brainiac 5's whole thing is basically like coulda instead of shoulda.
Oh, sure.
Like that's, if there's one kind of common element to every Brainiac 5 story, it's that he's like, science is great. Oh no, science is horrifying.
Sure. But this is a computer through the perspective of the 70s?
Well, 60s even.
Wow, okay.
Computo goes nuts.
Yes.
And starts attacking and stuff. I say it in the context of this question because it is relatively easily defeated.
Because computers back then, like their perspective is only so far of how.
However,
advanced.
Computo does have the distinction of killing one of Triplicate Girl's triplicates.
Sure.
So she has to rename herself to Duo Damsel after.
Oh yes.
Just so sad.
Yes. So also, like what the line between computer and robot even in this type of scenario?
Computer is like a computer is any kind of like processing machine.
Yeah.
A robot tends to imply an element of like movement or mechanical interaction. Like the computer doesn't physically do stuff for you. A robot could. But also a robot has computing power.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next level up is an android,
Sure.
which is a fully artificial thing that is sentient.
Yeah.
I mean, an android is actually another step beyond that, which is, and it looks human.
Yeah.
An android's pretty specific, but there are.
But in this type of situation you're talking about, is this a computer, or is this like a robot?
Computo, I guess, becomes slightly more of a robot.
This is what I mean.
It started
right?
as a computer, but then it sort of like assembles machine parts. Like, you know what I mean? And it's this big yellow box.
Exterminate.
It looks really dumb. It's got like a big light bulb on its head. Like,
Love it. Love it.
because it's from the Legion of Superheroes in the 60s or 70s or whatever the fuck. And, it's recurring. It comes back a few times and it thwarts different groups.
But largely pretty dumb.
Yeah, it tries to take over Bismol at one point, the planet of beings that can eat anything. I think that's pretty dumb because you can just eat
Is
it.
this like Matter Eater Lad?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
That's his planet.
Yeah.
Which I think we've talked about before. I don't know if if this planet's intentionally named Bismol, like Pepto-Bismol.
Oh my god.
But that would be very funny.
I mean,
very
it's Bismo, so
it's Bismol.
yeah,
It's the name of his planet.
Pepto-Bismo.
Mol.
Is it Mall?
Yes. How do you not know the name of Pepto-Bismol?
Because I eat Tums.
I eat Tums
Oh,
too.
it is Bismol. Oh.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure Computo tries to invade there, and that goes poorly. I think it's more just like Computo just seems silly. I think it has some cred. Like I said, it killed part of Triplicate Girl. Like it's a threat, but for some reason that one just comes across as silly for me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the next question.
All right.
Which means we're leaving Facebook and heading over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
I was trying to figure out when Pepto-Bismol was created.
Sure.
But it doesn't have a wiki, which is weird.
Oh, I see.
Which is
Well, I mean, here, put it this way.
It's 1901 basically. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
It definitely was probably referring to that.
Oh, okay.
First question.
I was going to say, if there were only 3 parts of your mind that you could, like, kind of give attention to, put 2 in the pink and 1 in the think, and we'll think about a new question.
That was worth saying. First question.
My only regret is I didn't get it out fast enough.
I mean, I've been there.
Your Honor.
Tristan Basile asks, has Brainiac ever tried to dissect magic like Dr. Manhattan in Doomsday Clock?
Yeah, we talked about the Dr. Manhattan thing.
Or actually, last 2 episodes ago.
We will talk about it
God.
in the Halloween special
Sure.
next week.
Cool.
Which we recorded a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, in Doomsday Clock, there's that moment where Dr. Manhattan is kind of talking about the scraps of creation. He sort of perceives that that's what...
I already submitted it. Yeah, it's fine.
That's what magic is. And he can
asked me to do that.
Remanipulate it and do it again. But has Brainiac done that? Interesting. Brainiac has like transcended his being before. So I mean, first of all, there's lots of versions of Brainiac. Some are kind of that he's part over time and retcons of that. Some of them are that he's part Coluan and part machine, or enhanced by machine. Some are that he was entirely a machine.
I like part Coluan, part coffee, but
oh yeah, nice, yeah, yeah. Part Coluan, part machine, all flavor. Brainiac. At one point he kind of became like a god version of himself, where all of the fragments of Brainiac, like through the multiverse or something, like ended up outside the multiverse, and they coalesced into this big kind of monster thing. that Brainiac had like wild like omnipotent power, but it still seemed almost entirely science-y. You know what I
Sure.
mean? He could neutralize powers. He was like pitting realities against each other on Telos, on that planet during Convergence, the event we don't speak of. That Brainiac, very powerful, but ultimately basically just a science creature. But I have a slightly different point with it. So, Brainiac technology. In the line of Brainiacs, we get to Brainiac 5 in the Legion of Superheroes, and what's the main piece of technology he's known for? It's his force field belt. That force field belt from the 31st century ends up in a museum in the 25th century. Booster Gold steals it, and it is part of his supersuit.
Oh, okay.
So part of Booster Gold's supersuit is a 31st century force field device. That force field device, I can't remember which comic it was, but has deflected magic from like demon beings and stuff like that. It's protected him from magic.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean it's magic proof. It just means it worked against whatever was particularly thrown at him that time. But I do think it means that on a kind of macro global level, at some point in time, the Arthur C. Clarke thing comes true. Even though I like in DC that there is magic and there is science, there is a version of it where the science can catch up and counter magic.
Sure.
And then they unleash something more powerful or more arcane or more twisted. And then science can catch up and can counter that. And so there's always this kind of like, if you think of it like, you know, a computer virus and like antivirus software, I think there's always this like back and forth between magic and science of which is more powerful in any given age, or which has like the upper hand in any given age. You know, in the Middle Ages, magic's got the upper hand because technology and science are fucking nowhere.
Yep.
So I think there's that kind of thing. And if you go far enough in the future, Brainiac with enough advanced science could probably counter most of, in our time, the magic that is being used and available, right?
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Next question. Myra in Iowa asks, which Brainiac is the most evil? I know it isn't 5. The rest gets jumbled in my brain.
The most evil. Well, let's run through. Keep in mind, there are lots of retcons in here. But for a while, the first Brainiac was Vril Dox. He was from Kolu and then sort of became enhanced with some machinery or whatever. There was a retcon that the first Brainiac was just a machine and he had an assistant named Vril Dox, and that was that Brainiac 2. And then Brainiac 3 was Vril Dox's son, Lurl Dox. There's a Brainiac 4 that doesn't amount to much, and then a Brainiac 5 in the 31st century, which is Quarrel Dox. And then there's some that come after. The current version, again, I think puts Vril Dox as a Coluan who is also part machine as the first Brainiac. And then in No Justice, we see Brainiac 2, Lurl Dox, but he's Brainiac 2. 3 and 4, don't remember what their deal is now. Brainiac 5 is still Brainiac 5. There's a Brainiac 13, which I think is from... Oh, is that DC 1 million? No, it must be... No. DC 1 million is too far in the future. Brainiac 13 is 64th century. I can't remember the story. Does it have to do with Imperiex? Might be somewhere in that era, somewhere around Imperiex. There's a Brainiac 13. As I recall in the comics, the art for Brainiac 13 was done in like the best 3D renders you could do.
Wow.
Like, you remember like in old cartoons when they then insert a 3D model and you'd be like, whoa, but
Yeah.
like they did that like on the page. But
Whoa.
I think they did it deliberately to make it look so different. Not that necessarily that they thought it looked super cool, but like he's in a different, like he's transcended something, right? Brainiac 13, I'm pretty sure, had that like kind of weird effect to him. And Brainiac 13 was almost entirely like maniacal, like just an evil kind of thing. I mean, Brainiac is the first one, probably still takes the cake. But Brainiac 13, I think, was maybe slightly more malicious, because Brainiac often will still hide behind, like, I'm just documenting worlds, collecting,
Sure.
you know, even though his methods are horrible, and at a certain point, it becomes a personal vendetta against Superman and against the Justice League and things like that. But it's probably a tie between Brainiac 1 and Brainiac 13.
Sure. Here's a question that won't take very little time to answer.
That won't take very little time.
From Liam K. Willis,
Okay.
who asks, not character related, but how do you think the advancement of AI will affect the comic medium?
Well, maybe straying away from the more overt uses. There are versions of things that are probably technically AI adjacent that are already used. And what I mean by that is a lot of comic arts, or almost all of it, is done digitally now. You know, and the idea of like defining layers, or, you know, like drawing a tool around a thing and then it knows what you were trying to get and you don't have to be 100% perfect. Like, those are all building blocks of things that are AI adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
Those tools will get more sophisticated to the which will make work for human artists easier, which will then allow them to push boundaries in other ways when it frees up a time on, you know, whatever extra, like populate a background with windows and doors or like shit like that, like frees them up to do more work on the foregrounds or on characters or something. Like, I'm speaking slightly out of turn because I don't know anything about like the programs or whatever that artists use for these things, but those types of tools are all that sort of like machine learning things that have gotten more sophisticated over time, right? Like how you used to have to Photoshop a thing, draw really carefully, don't miss the line or whatever, and then I just go into Canva and I go remove background and it does it. Like, well, what do you think's doing that? How does it know what the background is? That's machine learning. That's AI adjacent. Those kind of things will keep advancing. And I think those are probably the most, they're the ones that we don't even really think about. And they're probably like the ones that keep continuing. So that'll be part of it. So just the process of drawing will get more, I think artists will just have more options, more versatility, and things like that way. There's the other side of it, the more public side of it, which is like, could we just make an AI comic? It's like, I guess you could, but who fucking wants that? And like that, I think is, you know, there's always going to be someone that thinks it's worth something and it's not, but you know, you can't shut those people up. But I think the bigger thing is just, what is it going to do to the tools that artists use? Like, I don't think I have the capacity to guess what those tools will look like, because I barely understand how all of it works now, like from a technical perspective. So I don't really think I could speak to what will the tools of 20 years from now look like compared to now, because like now from 20 years ago is such a leap, you know. But I think it's those little things, the stuff that's in the background of the tools that humans are already using. That's the stuff that'll be the real thing that pushes it forward. Because I mean, look at that. Look at the enormous quantum leap in style. Like, let's not talk about quality, because that stuff, you know, is, some of it is just, it is what it is, right? Some of it's down to printing and shit too. But just look at like how style has evolved from the 90s or the 80s to now. The idea of like treating comics cinematically, like a thing that would be really difficult to do in the 80s is the idea of like racking focus. But in a panel now, you could put the same panel like side by side, one super sharp on the foreground and blurry, like truly like you're looking through a lens at the back, and then you can rack focus and do the other way around. blurry foreground, super sharp at the back, and it's the same image, and you're using a tool to do that, and then you put those panels side by side. And that's the thing, you couldn't do that in the 80s. There's no way you could draw a blurry thing and have it not look like a printing error.
Yeah.
It was impossible. So, like, when you ask a question like this, like, I don't know, because, like, it hasn't even been thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what could those tools unlock? No idea. Just like in the 80s, they didn't know you'd get to the point where you could make pages in a comic look like a movie. And if you want good examples of that, it's Jorge Jimenez.
Yeah.
More than any other artist,
Yeah.
Jorge Jimenez, his pages, his panels look like a fucking movie. It's wild. And that's not to say I'm going against the thing where I say where different mediums do different things better. I just mean it's taking like aesthetic things that previously were inaccessible in a print medium, and all of a sudden they aren't. What a different experience, like go read Joker War. Like some of that shit is wild looking.
Yeah.
The way rain and like these other effects can look when you're fucking with focus and contrast and all that kind of shit. And you would never be able to do that in 1988. It was impossible.
Totally.
I mean, you have a different, not necessarily a deeper technical knowledge of how comic artists do things, but you probably know a bit more about
AI. Yeah.
Well, that, but also just like photo and Illustrator kind of tools and shit. Is there anything that you actually feel kind of confident about a sort of direction of a thing, or something you've noticed that's made some of that work easier that you just assume will keep generating?
I mean, I do, but everybody's going to get mad at me.
I mean, other than something stupid like we could just let it make the art.
We'll be able to get to the point where you could be like, hey, if you took this dead writer and this dead artist and made a comic book together, what would that look like?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You absolutely would be able to do that.
Well, yes, you could do that. I hate that.
It'll absolutely happen. Same way it's going to happen with movies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Also, you can... I'm not making it. I'm just saying...
I know, but why is that your interpretation of the question? I just said, what are cool tools that you think will evolve? And you were like, bring them back from the dead.
Because
nobody asked you to go there.
It's a tool. That it's asking me, how do I think the AI advancement will affect the comic medium? That is how it's going to do it. That's answering the question. You'll be able to animate comics based on art. You'll be able to then take this artwork and then can you make click on this thing and you'll actually see movement within the page.
Oh, sure. So you mean sort of program into a digital comic, not just the guided view thing where you zoom in on a panel, but a little bit more like a motion comic thing where the layers kind of slide around on it, or
the characters are suddenly then fighting a little bit. That stuff.
More of a
You'll be able
motion comic stuff's kind of interesting. I don't hate that.
I think that stuff will be easy to be able to develop. I think that being able to digitize comics that had never been digitized before is going to be a lot easier.
That's interesting. I think that's really interesting.
That stuff's going to get way easier when you're able to basically replicate pixel for pixel art and basically then vectorize and render it.
Yeah,
that shit already exists.
Yeah,
and
it probably will just get faster and easier.
Well, yeah, and vectorization isn't really perfect yet, and it's still clunky, at least from a commercial size. I haven't really seen advanced technology within vectorization, but there's no way it's not going to get to that point.
Sure, right.
So that stuff, color matching, those types of things, I think being able to have for artists to be able to create an asset library easily of their work and be able to reutilize characters and be able to put or be able to just go, what would my character look like in this sort of placement, and then being able to use that as a starting point to be able to create artwork.
Sure.
You're seeing that stuff with art and with writing already. I'm sure writers are already using it from just being able to from a fucking Canon standpoint, being able to have essentially an inboard editor that's basically going well, you can't do that because this already happened.
I was just gonna say I could see there being just as like a encyclopedic kind of resource, but one that's maybe has a capacity for a little bit more.
Or like you
instead of just spitting out like in 1953 Brainiac was this, in 1953 Brainiac was this, to kind of go like, we know what the most recent one was, what the story said, what's your interpretation of the, like, you know, just some version of is which part of the costume is purple, you know, like a quick resource that can scan through things and go like, you know,
yeah, a recommendation for a
things to make editors' lives slightly easier.
You could utilize in this moment. So it's like, is there an unknown character that I could use in this moment that would be appropriately placed? Be able to pull that character out and then be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that would be a really fun character to use. That kind of stuff, I think, as a resource, I think, and a bit of like a wiki would be really interesting. Yeah, there's a ton of different ways that you could do
that stuff makes sense.
Yeah. Moving on. Next question from Max Nopo, who asks, who would win in a fight, Amazo or Failsafe?
So Amazo was created by Professor Anthony Ivo, is an android that can absorb and recreate the powers of any metahuman.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, more than that, it doesn't even need to be that. It can recreate any abilities because it can map like Batman's tactics.
That's right.
That's not a power, but it can like calculate them and incorporate them into its system and stuff like that. It can also recreate like Green Lantern construct energy, which is not like a power. It's extremely sophisticated android, a very challenging adversary for the Justice League because everything they throw at it makes it stronger.
Yeah.
So Amazo is a really, really kind of wild robot character, android character.
Totally.
Failsafe is from a relatively recent arc of Batman. So there's an arc of Batman called Failsafe, and it's basically a sequel to both Tower of Babel and Batman R.I.P. Batman R.I.P. is the one where it retcons the idea that the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh is sort of like a psychic thing that Bruce created to protect him from like psychic attacks. It's like an alter personality, essentially, to keep the core of Batman alive if he was psychically attacked. In Tower of Babel, that's the one where Batman has his contingency plans for the League stolen and used against the League. In Failsafe, it starts with the Penguin basically frames Batman for his own death.
Oh, wow.
Penguin's just trying to get out of town and start a new life, and he sets it up to make it look like Batman killed him. And what we learn is that Zur-En-Arrh, as this alter inside Batman, created the contingency for Batman, which is this robot called Failsafe that has every other contingency in it. Will take out other Justice Leaguers if it tries to stop him, but Failsafe's mission is to take out Batman because the Batman crossed the line.
Wow.
Batman killed. Activate Failsafe. Kill Batman, and it knows all of Batman's tactics. It has access to all of his systems. He can't outthink it. He can't outmove it. It's faster than him. It's stronger than him. It's got kryptonite. It'll get Superman out of the way. It has all of everything that Batman has. It has. This is the arc that I told you about where he goes to the Justice League's old moon base and Failsafe follows him there, and then Batman falls from the moon to Earth.
Sure.
Like, it's really cool. It's a Chip Zdarsky kind of like very cool, but like wild shit. Failsafe's extremely.
How does he beat him?
I don't remember specifically. With Robin though, with Tim, but at great cost.
Sure.
So
who would win in a fight?
Probably Failsafe.
Sounds like
the Justice League has taken down Amazo every time Amazo has come up. Now, technically, they've done that to Failsafe too, but it's only come up once. But if the Justice League could take down Amazo, which was already just replicating the Justice League, and they had a hard time taking down Failsafe, which is also designed to take down the Justice League.
Theoretically, Failsafe.
But it's designed to take them down. It's not designed to replicate their powers, which is more tactical.
Yeah.
And the thing with Amazo is he always like that has come up in things before is like if he has their powers, he has their weaknesses. So like fine, strength of Superman, but kryptonite. He absorbs it all. So I'd give that to Failsafe for sure.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
Next question from Draco Folly, who asks, if a scientist or a Batman creates a machine that gains sentience by accident, can they be blamed for the inevitable reign of terror?
Brother Eye.
Yeah. But also, yeah, like what's the Marvel one?
Ultron?
Yeah, Ultron.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Hank Pym in the comics, I think, that makes Ultron. But
yeah. Most of the time when a robot gains sentience, it's by accident.
Except it's not by accident.
Brother Eye?
Brother Eye gets stolen by Maxwell Lord and Checkmate. But it is given sentience by Alexander Luthor Jr.
Okay,
as
so that's
part
not,
of his kind of Infinite Crisis plot.
So that's not an accident.
But that's after control of it was stolen by Max Lord.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure. So why would you let your thing get stolen, Batman?
Sure. I mean, that's
why would you let your insane spy satellite, data gathering, weakness finding satellite get stolen?
But also, why would you let your blank, like, gain sentience? Like, why would you build a thing that could happen to?
Again, though, that's a step removed. Like, Alexander Luthor Jr. kind of provides it with a thing that, like, it didn't just, like, come out of Brother Eye's programming. It was given to it. So Batman didn't make a thing that could develop it necessarily.
Well, so then that's not part of this question. Then.
No. But in the broader sense, yes, absolutely you should be held responsible for its actions. You made it. Now, was Batman justified in making Brother Eye? Justified's a strong word, but they took Batman's mind from him, in his view. They only erased 10 minutes of memory when he saw them doing the same to Dr. Light, but it's Batman's mind. It's the only thing he has that he didn't think could fail him. Your body can fail you, tech can fail you, friends can let you down, family could die. The only thing he had was his mind, and they took that from him. And so he made Brother Eye because he's Batman and he's paranoid, and they broke the last grain of trust in him.
Sure.
So it's not justified,
and not just his fault.
But it's also not just his fault. So if you start going backwards with the culpability, responsibility piece, then it's like, well, we all kind of have to own Brother Eye a little bit,
Yeah.
But, Batman also takes things way too far. You could just not engage with anyone.
Yeah.
You could just not share anything new. You could,
spend your money towards things that are good for your community rather than just
he does that too. He does that too. But I mean, like, you could also just, like, hide or get new tactics or that. You could, like, it'd be easy for Batman to start new.
Sure.
But instead, he was like, oh, no, I'll make a satellite that tracks and calculates the way to defeat every single metahuman on the planet. And I'm sure no one will take it. And if they do, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So what you're saying is, yes, they have to be blamed.
Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah.
Maybe not entirely, but at least a bit.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Next question from Jeff Attack, who asks, what's up with the Red Tornado siblings? How come some of them seem to grow a conscience while others are so murdery?
So, Red Tornado, an android built by Tio Moro that has wind powers. And at various times has been the host of an air elemental or a tornado champion, or has just been an android with wind powers. Depending on when.
Sure.
He was basically designed and programmed to infiltrate the Justice League, and then his programming would kick in, and he would take them down, and Tio Moro would win. But he manages to beat it and override his programming. He's a valued member of the League and all this kind of stuff. And he's always in pursuit of being a bit more human. Classic,
Mm-hmm.
But he has siblings. So he's Red Tornado because he's the air. But there's also Red Torpedo, which is water. There's Red Inferno, which is fire.
Sure.
And there's Red Volcano, which is earth.
Sure.
Red Volcano is batshit crazy, full evil,
Okay.
absolute tyrant. Inferno comes around, but needs some talking into being good. Torpedo, pretty good, pretty off the hop. I can't remember precisely how. I mean, they do a good arc with the Tornado siblings on Young Justice that I actually think is really good. There's a Red Tornado 6-issue series that deals with the siblings. With one of them doesn't even know they're an android. I think it's Torpedo. I can't remember. One of them doesn't even know that they are an android. They think they're like a human child.
Weird.
And then they find out they're not. Like, it's pretty fucked up. But yeah, Red Volcano is like full mustache twirly evil. Tornado is good. Torpedo's mostly good. Inferno's basically good, but takes some time.
But why?
Why? I like to think that you can't like that. It's the influence of the superheroes thing, you know, like Tio Moro tried to make a thing to infiltrate them, but like it ends up learning the value of the thing, right? Like,
sure.
To infiltrate the superheroes, it had to pretend to be a superhero, but it learns the value of heroism in doing that, right?
Sure, that makes sense.
For some of these other ones, Tornado is then an inspiration. Volcano, I think, is kind of segmented off. Like, I think Volcano grows up in like a different circumstance, has a different body, a different set of programs or something. I'd have to reread that series, but I think the circumstances of Volcano's construction are different, which is maybe partly why. But I don't know. I mean, when you think about it, it's a pretty deep philosophical question. Why are some things good? Why are some things evil? And when you start applying it to artificial things, and you go like, well, yeah, like why are we? And
sure. Like, nature versus nurture.
You know what I mean? And I don't know that I have a good answer for that. But I think in general, a lot of it with the androids is about the nurture side. It's about the influences and we see it in all sorts of sci-fi where it's like there's a certain cold machine logic that comes off as evil, and you kind of have to show that like there's a value in a thing that on its face seems inefficient or whatever. I mean, we're talking about something slightly different than evil, but there's always that in those kind of stories.
Totally. All right. That leaves Instagram and heads us over to Reddit.
Where everyone's nice, no one's ever mean.
First question. Constipated Gandalf.
Nice.
It shall not pass. Who asks, what's the story of Overlord, the Apocalypse artificial intelligence? He appears in Young Justice, but otherwise he seems to seldom pop up.
Appears in Young Justice, and to be honest, I only know Overlord because I own, I mean, what I perceive to be one of very few issues Overlord appears in.
Wow.
I have Mr. Miracle #2, which is the first appearance of Granny Goodness.
Yep.
And in that issue, Overlord is this giant kind of computer machine defense thing that Granny owns and runs. But I'm pretty sure it gets destroyed in that issue.
Oh, wow.
I'm not 100% sure it has very much more. I mean, it must have shown up since, but I think pretty limited. If I'm not mistaken, well, I might be speaking out of turn here. Granny Goodness's whole thing is the fucking orphanages.
Yes.
And I have this weird sneaking suspicion that Overlord has something to do, because Overlord also looks like a giant baby skull.
Okay.
Like, here,
I hate that.
I mean, not like a skull, but like Overlord DC. Yeah, here's that's Overlord.
I don't know if I would say baby skull.
I just mean because like the forehead seems so big compared to the eyes.
Oh, sure.
And it has those like hands. I don't know. It just makes me think of a baby. Yeah, to be honest, I don't actually know that much about Overlord, but I think I don't think I've seen it very much. Like, other than that issue where I know it shows up, I don't remember it popping up in New God stuff around Final Crisis. I don't remember it popping up even cameo-wise in something like Mr. Miracle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember it popping up in like Dark Side War or stuff like that. I don't remember it popping up in Death of the New Gods. I don't remember it. I don't remember it from other Mr. Miracle series. I know very little. And I think it's only in one episode, maybe two of Young Justice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately, this is kind of like a, but I'd be curious to get someone like Jaffe on this, because I don't know if it's a bump because I just don't know it, or if it's a bump because there isn't anything.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
if it just hasn't been around that much.
Totally.
Yeah.
Crazy. Next question from Diaper Gal Kate, who asks, has Luthor made a Brother Eye-like robot?
Not like that. I think the big difference between Batman and Luthor, and this is giving weird credit to Luthor, is that Luthor is smart enough not to let a machine take the reins.
Sure.
You know? And part of that is Luthor's ego. You know? But Batman's like, I made it. It's perfect. And then he's like, fuck. You know, like, that's a classic Batman. It's like, shit, it got sentient again. Whereas Luthor is like, I just build computers. They don't think. I tell them what to do. I just need tools. I'm the only computer I need.
Sure.
You know, like, that's a Luthor mindset.
Sure.
So a lot of Luthor's satellites, they're just waiting for instructions from him or a program he wrote or a thing like that. It's very rarely that he has anything too autonomous. I think there was a story in the Silver Age. Remember, he had that like Lexor, the planet he was on, where then he became the hero and he taught them to hate Superman and shit. I think at one point a satellite or a machine of his, or it was a satellite of his at Lexor, malfunctions and attacks Earth.
Okay.
But it's not quite the same situation.
No.
He's definitely had things turn on him. Like, he's not infallible, but I do think there's a difference in philosophy between Lex and Bats that sort of precludes the idea of a full Brother Eye scenario from happening.
Yeah.
I can't think of a good other example other than that. But yeah, at one point, one of the Lexor satellites, I think, attacks Earth. Because I think that's part of the story of then, like, he's like, fuck, Superman's going to fucking find me now.
Sure.
And that's where he's like, you hate Superman. Like, I think that's part of the whole arc of that Lexor thing. But
nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave Reddit and head over to the doc scored.
Oh, shit. No.
Yep. Just a song in your head.
A song in my head.
That's right.
I'm off the dock scored them ducks in.
There's no way
I'll
we haven't done
never
this.
scored the end.
Have we not done?
I mean, I might have, but it's in my head. I'm just doing it.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it's used to be classic rock, and so we're far, far, far from that.
I mean, no, you're right.
We really
But
lost.
my daughter's been making up songs,
Ish, yeah.
her own lyrics to conspicuously the tune of Shallow.
Yeah, because for some reason that's constantly being played.
Well, I'm just preparing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, let him
Daddy's going
cook.
out to the garage.
Let him cook.
Yeah, thank God he dropped out of Scouts. He's no good at knots.
Jesus. But he is naughty. First question
Boo.
from Drago the Black Rose, who asks, the Murder Machine and the rest of the Dark Knights, excluding the Batman Who Laughs, what happened to them? Like, would you want to see the Murder Machine make a comeback? And who would you like to see him go up against?
So the Murder Machine is one of the dark multiverse Batmen.
It's like a cyborg mix.
Totally.
Yeah.
Who is in the first Dark Knight's Metal. He's from Earth -44, and on that Earth, someone kills Alfred.
Yes.
And Batman really has a hard time taking it. And he gets the cyborg of that Earth to help him build like an AI of Alfred, so that to help him.
Yeah.
And the AI instantly goes bad, takes over like all the computer systems, and that Bruce lets it into the cave because he's like, "Great, Alfred, we could be together." And then it like takes over all the back computer and stuff. It builds a new mechanical body for Bruce and like takes him over because the Alfred AI is like, "I'm designed to protect Batman. You can't protect yourself like that." Like, they become this weird father-son thing. Like, it's a real perversion of the relationship between Alfred and Batman. And then they go on to murder the entire Justice League on that world and all this kind of shit.
Oh wow.
So it's an interesting kind of, twist on things, as many of those metal ones are. The Murder Machine is part of the events of Dark Knight's Metal, and then is destroyed when the Justice League use Element X to stop Barbatos and stop the Batman Who Laughs and to save the multiverse. And maybe we see a different version of Murder Machine in Death Metal as like a cameo thing or something, but that's been it for that. A lot of the Dark Knights that you've mentioned there, they're done by the end of Metal.
Yeah.
The Merciless, the Devastator, the Drowned, Dawnbreaker, the Red Death. They're all basically done by the end of that story, except for the Batman Who Laughs. I like the Murder Machine. I think it's an interesting concept. I like a lot of what's in Metal, but between Metal and Death Metal and so much Batman Who Laughs, I'm pretty done with it. I don't really need to see that version of a thing again. I mean, to be honest, the closest Failsafe's about as close as I want to get to AI Batman story. Sentient robot Batman story. In a while. I liked the Failsafe story. I thought it was cool, but that was more because it was riffing on R.I.P. and on Tower of Babel, less because it was a robot with the skills of Batman. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think I'm good for now. I don't have a real craving for it. Yeah. Have you read Metal yet? Like, do you know
Not
Murder
yet,
Machine? Or
no.
anything like that? It's cool, but like Murder Machine's also like not a very big part of anything in it. Like, even by the standards of those Dark Knights, Murder Machine's one of the least featured, I think. So,
all right,
but it's like an evil Alfred computer, which for us,
yeah,
it's. I mean, not evil enough to have killed his parents in the alley, but
evil.
Technically, it should be up our alley.
Totally.
Up our alley.
Whoa.
Pup.
Just parking his RV in a remote location.
I'm here to pick him up from Dark Multiverse.
All right, next question from Stump, who asks, are mother boxes sentient computers?
They are.
All right, moving on.
Mother boxes come from New Genesis and Apocalypse. They're New Gods tech. They are computers, they are machines, but they are also imbued with the source, which is like creation, like the source is like the energy beyond the multiverse. It's what's out there, right? And they are sentient, and they have relationships to their bearers. Mother boxes do. I'm pretty sure there is some lore behind father boxes, and that they are more like kind of tortured, enslaved bits of the source trapped in similar technology. Dr. Impossible had a father box. They do a different version of father boxes in Young Justice, where that comes up. But in general, the mother box is a sentient New Gods computer. So they can say, like, you can see you'll see them do it sometimes where it'll just go ping, but they've like heard it like it's Chewbacca or something, right? Like they understand a whole sentence or something out of it, but all it's doing is pinging. Or they'll say like, "Mother box, find it." Like they can just have conversations with it. Like they're sort of. I wouldn't go so far as to say they're like familiars, but they have relationships.
Totally.
Which makes Lashina, one of the female Furies, super fucked up because her whips, her razor whips, are made from the skins of mother boxes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. Super fucked.
All right. Next question from Cactuar David, who asks, how come Red Tornado is so well adjusted compared to his creator T.O. Morrow? Does he have any siblings that take more after his father?
So we've talked, I mean, Red Volcano, we've talked about absolute like maniac. Red Tornado is very well adjusted. The piece that we haven't talked about is Red Tornado has a family. Like, I don't mean like robot siblings. He has a wife and a daughter.
Yeah.
His wife Kathy and his adopted daughter Treya. They're humans. He lives with them. He's the dad in that family, and they actually have a really lovely relationship. There's a great little arc called The Tornado's Path from JLA. That's a really good read and very much about Red Tornado. After Tornado died, I think it's right after Infinite Crisis, basically. And Tornado's soul gets put into a human body. Because, again, he has a soul because he is part air elemental.
Oh, sure.
And part android. But his relationship with his family is a big part of it, too. Like, he's not like Data. He doesn't... It's not that he doesn't get how to be human. He's actually extremely human. He just hasn't had certain experiences, or hadn't. Until he had a human body, he'd never experienced sweating or smell, or not the way we do.
Yeah.
But he was working on humor. He would do puzzles with Kathy. He liked spending time. He understood the idea of missing someone. He got it, so he's further along than something like Data was. That's a big part of it. So between, finding the actual value in the work of heroism and having a family and living as humanly as he can, it is alter ego John Smith.
Sure, yeah.
In Young Justice, they play him way more like a robot, where he's, like, I don't understand, like, talking like that. But in real life, he's, real life, Jesus. In real life, I love Red Tornado. No, in comics, he's got personality.
Yeah.
That's a big part of why he's so grounded, why he's so well adjusted. I mean, T.O. Morrow's like a crackpot scientist by himself.
Sure.
He doesn't have any of what Red Tornado has. Why would Red Tornado want what Morrow has? There's no meaning there. As for other siblings, T.O. Morrow has made other androids that are basically Tornado androids. In that Tornado's Path arc, I'm pretty sure you see like a bunch, some that do like lightning and some that do whatever, poison, or like they all have different kind of shit. They all look like Red Tornado, but they're different colors.
Sure.
But so there's them. There's Torpedo, Inferno, Volcano. But no, I mean, really, Tornado's real family is his wife and kid, which is pretty cool.
Totally. All right. Next question comes from the Moral Compass of the Doxcord, who asks, how well did Jack Kirby predict the future on machines? I'm not going to interpret this question in terms of like the way we do with Star Trek, where it's like a mother box is a cell phone. You know what I mean? Like
That's not. I think I want to take it more from like his perspective on it, and I'm not sure that I necessarily have the best sort of insight on it. But let's take a look at what we know from some of Kirby's DC work.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously appreciates the convenience of technologies. Technologies are huge in, New Genesis and Apocalypse. We've got aero discs, we've got boom tubes, we've got mother boxes, we've got astro harnesses, we got the mega rod, everyone's got a thing. There's all these different machines in that, but generally speaking, what the machines do, or the most prominent machines, are harmful. What is Apocalypse really at its core? It's a giant factory. It's essentially like a giant furnace. There's pipes everywhere. What does it do? It churns out soldiers and it churns out tanks and weapons. There's the murder machine. There's the X-Pit. There's the inescapable, there's the pain matrix, whatever, like all these kind of Kirby sort of things. There's examples to the contrary, but by and large, they're mostly destructive. And kind of in that Tolkien way, where you can't go, well, we can't do away with all industry because you guys need swords too.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But there is a sort of broader metaphor about one thing is only like the fires of industry and one's the other. I think Kirby has a little bit of that in him. If you look at Kamandi, that's more of a biochemical thing, but that technology destroys the human race. It creates all these animal people, destroys the human race. It's the great disaster, And Kamandi is a direct descendant of Buddy Blank, of OMAC, the original OMAC, another Kirby creation. And OMAC, in that future, Buddy Blank is like one of the only... He's the one-man army corps, and he works for the Global Peace Agency because in that time... I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially they don't want to have a bunch of these running around. We just need one to keep the peace. There's no weapons, because there's a whole thing about pacifism and stuff in OMAC. And so that's why there's only a one-man army corps.
Yeah.
So even in that one where it's like, we give you the technology to be this cool thing, they're like, but we only can have one. Because if we make more than one...
Sure.
I don't want to, over speak for him because, to be honest, I've never really read his stuff with this lens particularly, but it seems to me there's a relatively compelling argument that Kirby has a general disdain for the mechanization or the dehumanization of things.
Yeah.
Because what are the machines we're supposed to like the most? It's OMAC, who is a human given kind of machine things. It's a mother box that is a sentient connection to like the light of creation and a machine. Like any machine that doesn't have that kind of touch of the divine or something to it is like, it's like, here's the murder sarcophagus. Like they're always these horrible like torture things, or it's the obliter bomb. Like,
sure,
they're always these like horrible tools. So I do think there's an element of Kirby that is not dissimilar to Tolkien. And I don't think Tolkien would ever say like, don't build a car.
Yeah,
that's evil. Like, but I do think Tolkien's whole thing was about the mechanization of war, the impersonality of things like machine guns and tanks. How easily that leads to carnage by separating yourself from the acts you're committing. And I think Kirby has a similar kind of thing. It's so easy in this New Genesis Apocalypse thing to just, it's a proxy war. The only thing that stops it for a while is something very personal, which is swapping the sons of the rulers.
Yeah.
You know, everything else about it is like, I don't know, let all the lowlies fucking die. It's like the bugs on the ground. Because, like, New Genesis, they don't give a shit about the bugs. Like, they have a slave class there, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's all pretty fucked up. So, that's my take on it from what I've read. But to be honest, I've never gone back and, like, read kind of with that lens. So, maybe I'd feel differently on a more minute level. But
For sure.
what about you? Your experience with Kirby, or at least with Kirby's properties, because you've probably read Kirby things but written by other people or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, Kirby is like has a bit of Roddenberry in him, which is like his hit ratio for like predicting things is actually pretty high. Like there is VR stuff in
Sure.
OMAC.
Yeah.
Like for Marvel stuff, you can even like look at like Machine Man, and there's AI there.
Sure. Yeah.
He like with Fantastic Four, he like predicted the way that the moon lander would work, like the lunar lander.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Like he's like his hit ratio is pretty good. He like predicted Trump. If you actually look at his non-comic book stuff, like he predicted like a reality TV show guy basically becoming president.
Oh, I mean that there is a kind of like Glorious Godfrey. Yeah. I mean that is based on his experience with Hitler.
Sure.
And everything that was old is new again. But
if you look at his non-comic book stuff, he has a book called Jack Kirby's History of the Future.
Right.
And there's like a talk of like democracy breaking down in 2026. Like his like
Yay.
yeah, his hit ratio is pretty good. And like he's pretty good at that kind of stuff. So I think like for me, but at the end of the day, Jack Kirby, I think his biggest value is like he's an idea machine.
Yeah.
He has a million ideas.
Yeah.
60% of them are good.
Yeah.
But everything gets out there.
They don't all work.
No.
Yeah.
He's got some fucking insane ideas, but he's got a lot of ideas. And I think like that's what's so interesting about him. I think like his perspective and like also considering when he's from, like his ability to like make wild predictions on things and like where technology can go throws him in a lot of different directions. But I think like he hits pretty hard, and so it's always really impressive to me. I mean that's why I love Kirby so much.
Yeah, totally.
Like he was the ideas guy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So somebody else just knows.
I've got a prediction. Nobody will remember you.
Yeah.
Excelsior.
It's a real fucking Steve Wozniak. Truly.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
there are no B players at Marvel.
Yeah.
That was a weird reference.
Yeah.
Trying to do that scene from the Sorkin Steve Jobs movie.
Oh, sure. Sure. You would have made Marvel. Yeah.
You lost $1 billion? How do you do that? That's Regis. I don't know.
If you were going to make Marvel, you would have made Marvel.
Social Network.
Yeah.
Different Sorkin. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking Sorkin.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You can't handle the Spidey. Different Sorkin. Nice.
All right, last question from Only Just Dandon, who asks, have they ever made Richard Pryor's character from Superman 3 canon?
Gus Gorman. I don't think so. Maybe only in that, and I haven't read them all, but they've been making those like Superman 78 comics and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So that and Batman 89 in the new multiverse are meant to be one Earth. Not the movies, but those comics.
Sure.
You know? So on Earth 789, which I'm pretty sure is what that one is called, Gus Gorman may exist there. But I don't think they ever brought him in as like a real thing. Because if anything, Gus Gorman is just a watered down Milton Fine. He was supposed to be Brainiac.
Yes.
You know, so no, I don't think they ever did. Actually.
Crazy.
And they brought other things in. Like I'm pretty sure like Nuclear Man from Superman 4 made his way into comics at some
The goggles, they do nothing.
Yeah, Radioactive Man, yeah. No, I truly don't think Gus Gorman has a main continuity appearance. If someone can prove me wrong, I would love to see it. But
Well, damn.
Yeah.
That was the last question.
hey, there you go.
We would love to hear from your residents. Would you like to send in a question for next week's episode?
Yep. Which
We have a theme.
TBD.
Yep. You can reach out to us through our various social media platforms.
That's right. We're Dr. DC Podcast on the platforms.
That's right. The doc phone is always open. 208-917-3238.
208-917-DCEU.
If you're nasty.
Baby.
We've got a website, drdcpodcast.com or .ca. Why don't you give us a 5-star review and we will read it on a future episode. We've also got a multi-tiered Patreon that you can subscribe to.
Go to patreon.com/DrDC. There's a $1, $5, $7 level. They all give you access to the Doc Scored, our amazing Discord fan community.
Doc Scored.
And at the higher levels, you get bonus episodes, the double dose every week. And at the highest level, you get more podcasts? Question mark?
Say what?
There's Toretto Talks.
I'm going to shit my pants.
There's Bonding Time. Oh, I'm going to yard. You're just doing like drive time radio? Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
There's Bonding Time, which is currently ongoing. That's where me and my wife are watching through every single James Bond movie. Can I get a yeah? We're almost through the Roger Moore ones, actually. So,
Give me more.
okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Trying not to get bricked up while we do the end of the episode.
Me love you long time.
No. Never mind, you fixed it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Nice.
Ooh, ooh.
Jesus. Please don't offend Japan.
Only one way to find out.
Adios.
Ciao, ciao.
Heroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.